There's something big happening with Lamar Jackson, and you need to hear this right now. After weeks of concern, we finally got a piece of news that completely changes the mood in Baltimore, the kind that makes everyone stop what they're doing and pay attention. This isn't a rumor. It's not locker room chatter. It's something that actually shifts the way this team is heading into the next stretch of the season. And the best part is that it doesn't just bring relief, it creates a very real sense that something special might be coming. There's a key detail here, a twist, and a legit reason to get excited. So stick with me, because what comes next could reshape the rest of the Ravens season. When Lamar Jackson stepped back onto practice field on Thursday, you could feel the energy around the team shift instantly. He sat out the day before for rest, but just seeing him out there again made everything feel more balanced. It's that thing that happens when the leader shows up, the group settles, the confidence rises, and the week's game plan suddenly feels a little more solid. What's interesting is that this has basically become a pattern. For 5 straight weeks, he's missed at least one practice. And even with that, when Sunday hits, he shows up and plays at a high level. But you know how the NFL works. When your quarterback isn't consistently on the field during prep, little details start slipping through cracks, and those details pile up in the rhythm of the offense. Baltimore's at a point in the season where every adjustment matters, and having Lamar practicing again helps restore some of that flow the offense has been trying to recapture. The loss to the Steelers made it clear that this unit needs more consistency, and having him present during the week helps those fine-tuned adjustments, the ones that affect timing, reads, and overall execution. Even if this doesn't magically fix everything, his presence alone gives this offense a real chance to heat up when it matters most. The final stretch of the season doesn't allow for mistakes, and everyone in the building feels that pressure. And that's exactly why these missed practices are starting to raise concerns inside the franchise, because the impact goes far beyond just a day off. When you look at 5 straight weeks of Lamar missing at least one practice, it's obvious this isn't just rest. It's a sign his body still isn't responding the way the team hoped, and that inconsistency in his preparation is taking a toll. No matter how talented you are, missing reps always affects the offensive rhythm. And when your quarterback isn't out there every day, the small things slip. Sometimes it's route timing. Sometimes it's a pre-snap adjustment. Sometimes it's just the cadence of a call. All those tiny details add up during the week, and they show up on Sundays in ways that slow the entire offense down. That matters a lot for a team living on razor-thin margins. The staff is trying to manage it carefully, adjusting his workload, keeping him fresh for game day, but that balance is fragile. Every missed practice forces him to make up for it later, pushing his preparation harder even when his body isn't at 100%. It's a tough cycle, and it requires constant attention. And as the season keeps moving, this lack of continuity only makes another issue even clearer. The Ravens lean way too heavily on Lamar to keep them alive in games. And that weight was on full display against Pittsburgh this past week. In the Steelers game, it was obvious how much this offense depends on what Lamar creates. Even with the team struggling, he threw for a touchdown, ran for another, and kept the game close all the way through. He carries this entire unit in a way you rarely see in the league, turning broken plays into real chances. But it also shows how heavy that load really is. When a quarterback constantly has to fix things the offense can't execute on its own, the wear and tear builds up fast. And that's exactly what showed up against Pittsburgh. When the passing game stalled, he ran. When the run game didn't work, he tried to spark something through the air. That need to always make up for what's missing makes the offense predictable and puts him at long-term risk. What hits hardest is that this level of dependency leaves the team vulnerable. A functioning offense requires multiple parts clicking together, not one guy doing everything. The 27-22 loss made that painfully clear, exposing how much Baltimore still needs around its quarterback to turn good individual performances into consistent wins. And that ties directly into something that can't be ignored anymore. His entire season has been shaped by physical limitations that never fully went away. That context explains why the load he's carrying feels heavier every week.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
The real issue is that the injuries he's dealt with over the past 2 months continue to influence everything he does on the field. That hamstring injury, the one that kept him out for 3 games after the matchup against Kansas City, wasn't just a one-off. It changed how the team handles his workload, and that affects the offense's weekly rhythm in a big way. Even though he's back playing, the plan around him clearly shifted. The staff is limiting reps, avoiding overload, and structuring his week to make sure he's ready for Sunday. It's necessary, but it also keeps the offense from operating at full capacity, because fewer practices mean fewer chances to sync up the timing on the things that matter most. And that's the challenge. Baltimore is at a point in the season where they need to accelerate, not slow down. Every week with physical limitations cuts into the time the offense has to fix issues, install adjustments, and reconnect pieces that should already be running smoothly. It often feels like they're racing against the clock while managing the health of their most important player. That's why looking at his season stats helps paint a clearer picture of the contrast between what he's producing and everything he's fighting against behind the scenes. The numbers tell you a lot about both his impact and the hurdles he's dealing with. When you break down Lamar's numbers this season, it's obvious he's producing at a high level despite all the interruptions. He's completing over 63% of his passes, already has 2,060 yards, 16 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. Those stats are strong in any context, but they mean even more considering the physical and structural challenges he's been dealing with since September. On the ground, he's still as dangerous as ever with more than 300 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That keeps the offense alive because defenses are forced to respect 2 dimensions at once. His ability to change the rhythm of a game with his legs is still one of Baltimore's most valuable weapons, and it shows up week after week. But at the same time, the numbers also reveal where the offense is struggling. The inconsistency from week to week, the rhythm drops, the lack of sustained explosiveness, none of that comes from a lack of talent. It comes from instability caused by injuries, missed practices, and adjustments they haven't been able to fully rep. The offense still hasn't found its true balance. And that's why everything circles back to the same point. Until the Ravens can keep Lamar healthy, present, and fully integrated into the weekly prep, this offense will stay stuck in this roller coaster of individual brilliance, surrounded by collective limitations. The picture we're seeing now makes one thing clear. The Ravens just got a much-needed boost. Watching Lamar regain rhythm, get back on the practice field, and show real signs of stability puts this offense on a far more promising path. After so many weeks of uncertainty, this shift arrives at the perfect moment and finally gives the team a chance to rediscover the identity they've been chasing. Now, here's the big question. Do you think this more consistent version of Lamar is enough to change the direction of the season and push the Ravens back into the fight, even after everything that's happened? Because that answer is exactly what will define how strong this final stretch can be and how the team responds when the pressure hits. When you put everything together, it's hard not to feel like this could be the start of a completely different chapter. Baltimore finally has a chance to turn recovery into momentum, and the impact of that could be massive if the team actually embraces this moment. The season is still wide open, and this is the kind of turning point that matters when everything is on the line.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.